Hi, folks. Well, thank you so much for joining our first event of the year, our flagship Test Smarter, Not Harder from Magnify. Today, we're going to talk everything about accessibility. I'm super stoked and excited about the panelists that we're going to have. And, interestingly enough, there's a few reasons why we chose accessibility. One, Globant has been committed to accessibility for a long while, and we have several practices as part of our professional services, but a lot of you may know that there is also a regulatory framework and an enforcement that is going to start happening in Europe in June 2025. So I thought, this is an opportunity for all of us, not only to consider accessibility a compliance matter, but enabling independence and inclusion from a digital point of view. As I was studying and learning from the experts that we're going to be having today, I learned that in the world we have about 16% of the global population with some sort of disability. And this is a huge opportunity, right? So we don't want just to tackle this from a compliance matters, but we want to unfold the opportunity, and through the stories of the panelists that we're going to be having today, Anna from Microsoft, Mateo from Asteroid, and Natalia from Globant. We want for you to be inspired and think of as an opportunity to act now. Now, without starting with a grim tone, also, the other thing that I learned as I was studying for today's event is that unfortunately, and especially because of 2020, the way we work, that, there's more stress and different environmental factors, different disabilities, unfortunately, is something that can happen to any of us and at any moment. And this is something that is increasingly happening more and more. So don't think about that this is something that as a business, it's a box that I need to check, or it's a compliance aspect. It's something that, it's for the betterment of humanity. Obviously, in Magnify, we're investing in our product a lot to help, become a bridge between what our testers can do and what the product can help them with in terms of accessibility. So I'm super excited to be joined by an amazing panel of experts today that are going to help us explore various aspects on, how to navigate this evolving landscape, what are their point of views, some recommendations. So I'm really excited to get started. Welcome. Awesome. Thanks a lot. And, for the ones that are not Argentinian, I'm having my mate as a proper, Argentinian would. And, with this, I want to start with a first round of introductions, right? So the first person that I'm going to be introducing, our first guest, is Ana González Talaván. She's a customer success account manager at Microsoft. She's a specialist in the accessibility field. I'll double click on her introduction, but I was, super impressed on how long she's been in the field of accessibility. So Anna, welcome.
Thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me here. So happy to participate on this conversation, not just because I'm a fan of accessibility, it's because you are challenging me, like a person who is representing a big company, how we are going to talk about accessibility and accessibility as a business. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh, please. Thank you. We're honored to have you, Anna. I would also like to say hi, to someone that is already a friend of the house, and also, someone that has been doing some of these talks at Globant for a long while. So, Nati, I hope that I'm doing justice to what we're doing today. Then you can let me know how we're doing. Natalia Toranzo, she's a leader in the accessibility practice in the quality engineering studio. She's a technical manager at Globant. And, we've been working with each other for a long while. So, Nati, welcome.
Hi, Nahuel. Thanks for the invitation. It's great to be here, and I'm really excited to share some insights on such an important topic, and of course, learn from all of you guys as well. Thanks.
Yeah. No, please. Thank you, Nati, for joining. And again, I hope that, we're at par with everything that you've been doing. So, for anyone that hasn't watched Natalia's content before, there's a lot of content that in our YouTube channels and so on, where Natalia kind of explains a lot. And, spoiler alert, it's some of the free resources that you can use to train yourself. And last but not least, I want to introduce Mateo Salvatto. Mateo is not only the founder and CEO of Asteroid Technologies, they're the creators of Háblalo, which, for as an Argentinian, Mateo, you're a hero of mine, so I'm really honored. But Mateo has been a leader in the space, and without sounding too cheesy, that I know I'm already blushing. So, but without sounding too cheesy, what I think Mateo's story is super interesting, because Mateo has been, changing the voice and the tone of the accessibility landscape. He's a younger voice. He's someone that makes accessibility, look appealing and sexy. So in a way, he's someone that is adding kind of a freshening voice. So Mateo, welcome to the team, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Nahuel. It's no pressure. I have to say something interesting now. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Amazing introduction. I'm not that interesting. Nahuel is a friend, a dear friend. So, but yeah, thank you very much. Glad to be here. Glad to join Anna and Nati, and of course you. It's amazing that you're doing this event, and I want to thank you and the team at Magnify for focusing on accessibility for this event. I think it's really, really important that more of us are talking, are discussing, are putting accessibility on top of the agenda, right? So thank you, and yeah, eager to explore the talking points.
Awesome, thank you for joining, Mate. And we're gonna be throwing some spoiler alerts from what Globant is doing in the space, what Asteroid is doing in the space, what Microsoft is doing in the space. So I'll cue some questions to the speakers so they can share what they can share. There's some cool announcements from some of the companies. I'm not gonna say much. But so I'm really excited also about the timing of the session. So let's dive right in. I do have a couple of questions, and something that I do want to share with the audience is that I do have here in my screen the ability to take a look at questions. We also have the questions here, so this is an opportunity for you to interact with the panelists. So as we're having a conversation, if there's something that you want to know from them, a question that you have about the field, anything that you want to know, I'll do my best to try to organically, bring these questions to the conversation. At the very end, the last 10 minutes, there will be Q&A. So we'll pick a few of the questions from the audience, but don't wait. You can put your questions in the channel, and I'll do my best to kind of bring them organically into the conversation. And if for some reason I'm not able to, at the end, we're going to have a Q&A space. So feel free to have questions coming. So, to break the ice a little bit, I want to ask each one of you, Anna, Mateo, and Nati, I want to ask about your personal journey in the field of digital accessibility, how you started, why it was relevant for you, how did you train in the field, and if you can share a few highlights and key moments that share your path. I don't know, Mateo, if you want to start, please.
Sure, of course. Well, thanks again, Nahuel, for the space. So I think it's interesting. It's kind of, I always say that I followed the family business, sort of, because I'm actually a tech guy. So I was trained as a developer. I studied electronics and software development. So I always loved technology. That part was covered since I have memory. Yeah, just for context, I'm 26. I look like 15, but I'm 26. So I'm talking about like when I was in high school, like 10 years ago, I was a huge fan of technology. And us in technology are used to a world of no limits, so infinite possibilities of doing stuff, creating, of empowering. So I grew up on loving that environment, but at the same time, like on a parallel track, I grew up with a different reality because my mother is and has been for the past 40 years a teacher for deaf people, for deaf kids specifically. So I grew up with lots of friends, relatives who were deaf, right? Or some of them were my age.
That's crazy. And something that it's interesting, and I guess all of your stories have in common, and probably I should have realized before, as a host, I'm doing a lousy job, but you all have somewhat of a creator origin story. So okay, I'm building something myself, or connecting with something that someone else has built, which I didn't know your story, Mateo. So thanks a lot for sharing. I don't know, Nati, if you want to share a little bit more about yourself. I know a little bit more about your story, and I think it's very inspiring. So I don't know if you want to share about kind of your journey and some of your first steps into this world.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I feel pressure because the story Mateo told is incredible.
It's like a very garage story with the napkin. It's like
exactly.
Yeah, the story is perfect. Yeah, totally.
Okay, well, my journey into accessibility started around 10 years ago. At that time, I remember I didn't know much about this topic, and I remember like someone reaching out to me and asked me if I was interested in being part of accessibility project. It was for a domestic airline from United States. So I began, looking for information about the tools and the technology, to be prepared for that project. And I remember at first, most of the resources I found seemed kind of repetitive. And I think that most of the information was around the tools, for example, how to use screen readers or the guidelines and standards that you need to follow. But then I came across this video that honestly completely changed my perspective. And it really made me click. It helped me to understand the human importance of accessibility at that time. So I will tell you about this video. The video was about the technology Stephen Hawking used to communicate. So he was using a technology that allowed him to use a virtual keyboard and have a voice. And as I watched, I just realized, how crucial the accessibility products are, because this technology allowed Hawking to continue his groundbreaking research and share his brilliant mind with the world. But what moved me even more was realizing that he didn't just use the technology for himself, he was constantly working to improve it so others could benefit of it. So I think that was something that it was amazing at that time. Think about people, for example, with ALS. Just imagine the life-changing opportunity this gives them. A chance to have their own voice and live a life with greater dignities and independence. So what I'm trying to say is that this video deeply moved me and made me realize the responsibility I was taking on being part of this project. So I think it was so powerful that it inspired me to become an accessibility advocate. Because yes, tell me.
Oh, no, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. No, go ahead.
No, sorry. Because I found a way, to combine my passion for technology and a meaningful purpose that was creating solutions for everyone, the inclusion. So, and I would love to say something that I think is important, that after all, I think that we really need to stop viewing accessibility as two separate efforts, we don't need to build one version for users with disabilities and another for those without. So I think that we need to change our mind and think that there is only one type of user, and our goal should be to create inclusive experience to everyone. So I think that's my inspiration. And since then, I'm spreading my passion with the rest of the Glovers and with the rest of the people that it is interested in this topic.
That's great, Nati. Now, in a way, you reminded me, and of course, this is early stages of this kind of technologies, but I was amazed when I was looking at Neuralinks and the possibilities of what artificial intelligence and kind of smaller devices can do. For the people that are not familiar, you can look at the story online. There's a patient that had an accident, and this paraplegic person is able to play chess right now. So it's I think we're in a new era of what technology can do, and of course Neuralink it's in early infancy stages as many other technologies, but it's mind-blowing. But one question that I wanted to follow up with you, and probably I will ask the same to Ana. Not everyone has the privilege like Mateo that in your own house you're going to have an expert and someone that can perhaps help advocate for you, or teach you the fundamentals, so then you can do some self-learning. How is it that you train yourself, Nati? Like, how do you make your first steps? And let me qualify the question, because all of you have a tremendous amount of experience, and one thing that I want to allow for the audience is, how can you get started, right? So how did you get started, Nati, in terms of learning and doing your first steps? And this is something that I'm going to ask Ana in a question, but I'm curious in your case, Nati.
Well, as I mentioned, I was looking information in the web, so that was my first step. At that time, we didn't have too much information. I remember that. So what I think that the first step I took, and I think this is a recommendation for all of you, is just put yourself in the user's shoes, try to understand how they interact with the websites and the applications. I think that that's the most important thing that you need to do. Because once you understand how the users interact with the web, I think you can start, looking for information to improve your work, and which tools can you learn to use to test or to develop accessibility sites. So I think that would be the first step. That is something that I did. Of course, I read all the guidelines. I read all the information. It was in the internet at that time. Right now we have more information. We have a lot of tools that help you to get reports on accessibility, recommendations on how to fix them. Well, we have people like Mateo helping provide some tools that allow users to interact with the websites in an easy way. So yeah, that's my experience.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Nati. And well, Ana, I'll love to know a little bit more about your origin story, and not only your origin story, but I was impressed when we were chatting about the event and prepping, also for not only how long you have been in the field, how long Microsoft has been kind of a leader in the space. So feel free to if you want to take the rest of the half hour, I don't think there will be a minute lost.
No,
so
thank you very much, because I can talk for years. So.
Yeah,
and after Mateo and after Mateo and Nati, let's go. what's the story about that? Not just me, okay, about the experience I had, because
Yeah.
accessibility for me was like a tsunami, guys. So it was like something simple. I was working for for Microsoft, but doing technical stuff. Okay, so I'm not talking about age. Okay, not because I'm not close to Mateo age. Okay, but it's because I think
I also look 15 like Mateo, and you know, I
yeah,
don't
that is the same thing. So, but what I could share with you is that I started in technology that for the woman in general was not so common. Okay, and I have good experience, good feedback from customers, talking about how to do solutions, etc. And I was doing a lot of mentoring in general with different people. And someone from Microsoft called me and said, "Hey, how could you help me? Okay, with the new person that would like to invest her time on technology." And I said, "Of course, I'm here, available for you." And the person said when he was going to close the call, "This person is deaf and blind." And I said, "Okay, no problem." But it's like he was sharing, this is her name, okay, Sandra. And I was like, "Okay, no problem." We finished the call. And after 5-10 minutes, I was starting realizing that deaf and blind, how could I communicate with the person who is deaf and blind? So how I going to mentor the person using technology at the same time was like, oh, I cannot believe that I could do this. And this is how the story started. Okay, so I faced the situation of how could I embrace the mentoring, just mentoring with the person who did the deaf and blind. And I would say that it was a tsunami because I learned more than she learned, I think. Okay, so the way that we wanted to approach meetings, she could not hear me. But at the same time, I tried to write things, and the things should be written in Braille. But she tried to arrive to the office, and it was impossible for her to catch up the metro station because the bus could not stop, or whatever it could be happening around this. For me, it was like stress because I could not understand how to help this person. Okay, and at the beginning, all the time I was thinking, perhaps like Mateo or Nati, I'm working in Microsoft. How could I do this? So I wanted to change things, right? But after some months, okay, of trying to do this with Magnify, with their tools, I realized that Microsoft was doing this work before I realized. Okay, 25 years. You are right. 25 years that Microsoft is working on accessibility. So it's not something new. It's something that it was 25 years old. What I changed, and to summarize here, I started to think that the way to really accelerate that was to think accessibility as a business. Yeah, as a business. Sorry, I'm a bit disruptive on this conversation, but it's like companies are here, and we need companies like Global, we need companies, partners, we need companies like Microsoft or any other ones that realize that this is not something optional, as Nati said. This should be part as is security or the data privacy. So I started to work, and what I changed my life is because I started to work on accessibility as a business. So this should be the part of the story. And how I recommend or how I feel about this. Like this is a battle, come on. So now we have some legislation that is saying, or normative, I don't know how to say that in English, but it's like they are arriving to our life, okay, but why? Because we are not doing our work, guys. So we can do a lot of things, application like the one I love about Mateo that is developing, what Natalia said that she's trying to embrace, but this is not about 3 people, even 100. We're talking about 2 billion of people with disability, 2 billion guys. And this is something that all of us should take into account. So this is about my story. I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Yeah, no, 100%.
One thing, Sandra is working for Microsoft for the last 6 years as a consultant.
Wow. I was going to ask you that,
She had
Anna,
changed our way to do business. Okay, right now accessibility is on top. So
Nice.
I think that we can change the world.
Yeah, I was gonna ask one follow-up and then I would like to connect to something that the audience just asked, and that I'll open up to everyone. But to follow up on your story, Anna, I assume this story was pre-pandemic, and you know, like, how were your first steps? Like, what were the resources that you used, like when you were trying to mentoring this person? Like, I'm curious, what did you do? And like, if you want to frame it in when was this, I think that'd be fantastic.
I think that you are going to be surprised because you are expecting I answer like with Microsoft Teams, with whatever. No, sorry, human interaction. So the first thing I would need to do was to understand how to meet this person and understand what was my limitation, because she has any limitation. So she was there thinking, done, I have the person, so how we talk, okay? But the reality is that we met first face to face to understand how we could embrace all this stuff. And the tools that we were using during the pandemic, it was Microsoft Teams. And it was working well, not really, not really. So we will need to develop a power app, okay, that was created to let the people who was invited to the meeting that they will need to use headphones, for example. And this is something that we never thought. Okay, so you receive a message saying that this person with disability is going to join your call, and you will need to talk slowly. So we were implementing on demand, honestly, and we were adapting to this. So at the beginning, we were like frustration, and we were hungry. We were like angry. Why Microsoft is taking this into account? Why this customer is inviting us through this technology that don't have caption? Blah blah blah. But what we really realized is that, come on, frustration is not the way to do it. Convert this frustration energy and do things, okay? And we created the accessibility answer desk, okay? That is another option. And the last thing, because I could be here for years, okay? We changed our life, okay, in the way that we approach this. We created a big team around the world because this is now a thing. So you cannot do things alone. So Spain, all the countries around the world created a thing about accessibility. And the first thing that we changed is that we have a mandatory training for all employees in Microsoft about accessibility. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
mandatory.
That's fantastic.
That is updated every year, every 2 years. And now it's available for all people. So just in case that anyone would be interested, I will share the link, okay? Because
Oh,
you
that'd
can
be
get
awesome. Yeah,
an
if you
accessibility
don't
badge.
mind,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, if you don't mind, we'd love to share it through, Globans and Asteroids and Magnify's channel so we can spread the word. That'd be
And
fantastic.
this is just one small thing, eh? Come on.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is,
of course.
but come on, why not we could put this in every company? It would be amazing. Just 3 hours and you could know what accessibility means for everyone, for the people with disability and for any of us.
That's fantastic. It's interesting. There's a question from someone from the audience, which everyone is making my shop today. Not only you folks, but also the people from the audience asking questions. They're making my life in my shop today much easier. The question that I wanted to ask, well, it's kind of twofold. One is, which I think you already touched, Anna. I wanted to discuss why. You think it's crucial to prioritize these conversations. But, what are you seeing as trends or things going on that are, creating a window of opportunity for people to bring this up? The question specifically from the audience was, how do I engage in my project? So let's say that I'm an engineering manager or a QA manager, so you're a creator of some sort. And I'm assuming the person from the audience is, working in an enterprise environment, perhaps where, you don't call all the shots, unfortunately. So how do I bring this into the initial phases and discussing this into kind of my project requirements, right? So I wanted to understand, a little bit of what are your recommendations. And I want to pass the torch perhaps to Mateo, because I also think you have a very inspiring case. There's one business case that we've talked a few times that kind of the ROI of the project paid on its own. So perhaps that can be inspiring for people as a way of introducing early this conversation. So yeah, I don't know, Mateo, if you want to share a few words.
Yeah, sure. Of course. Now, I maybe I can mix the audience question with something that Anna said that for me is key, absolutely key on this conversation, which is the making accessibility profitable, or at least a dialogue with business. Because I don't think it's only. Let me correct myself. It's the biggest problem. I'm talking, of course, right now inside corporations, right, inside companies, with embracing accessibility, because every single one of us likes accessibility, wants to participate, wants to everything to be accessible. Everyone wants accessibility to happen. But of course, then you reach your budget goals, you reach your yearly goals of a company, right, which everyone has, and that's perfect. And always, well, not always, but in many companies still, culturally speaking, accessibility is always, it's marked like a cost, not as an investment. So everyone in finance will say, yeah, this is a cost. This is a one-shot cost. I lost my money, and that's it, right? So culturally, what we at Asteroid always are pushing always to change is to show that, and this is something that, so in terms of like socially speaking, it's a cultural change that we have to face in the next few years, which is we still feel accessibility as a favor for the people with disabilities, right? And I think that's where you can find the biggest issue, the biggest barrier with the topic, because we still feel that doing accessibility is doing a favor to someone with a disability, and that is wrong, because as I was mentioning, you have billions of people with disabilities worldwide.
Could I jump with one comment on what you are saying?
Yeah, sure.
Because one thing that we realize as a company, and this is a reflection for all the companies, is that accessibility should be part of the culture of the company. So don't think that this is something that it will be discussed in HR and that's all. It's like disability and inclusion, etc., etc. No. This should be part of the culture of the company. And one thing that we did was like, we are not using a budget for accessibility anymore, Mateo. So we were thinking at the beginning, hey, this is the budget for accessibility. And what was all the time happening is if we wanted to reduce something, we reduce in this piece. No. Now, right now, it's not anymore there. So it's something cross. So there is a budget, and it's for all part of the companies. It doesn't matter if we are talking about the industry, communication, marketing, or whatever. Okay,
whatever.
So just to add, because this is a learning process, I think, right, Mateo? So for the companies who are asking, this is not something that you will learn from one day to another. There are millions of guidelines if you try to find them in LinkedIn, in whatever it could be the webpage. But it's about changing your culture. Give a try. Okay, put it as a mandatory thing, like is your data protection, for example, or security. And later on, fail, because you will need to fail and how to approach this. But it will be part of your sustainability plan, your EISG plan, I think.
Absolutely.
Sorry,
that's great. It's amazing to hear that from Microsoft, because as I think, I'm not saying this because you're here, but as one of the big tech companies worldwide, I think Microsoft is one of the best examples on embracing accessibility, right? From hardware to software. So it's really interesting to learn how you're tackling that challenge. I think most companies still do have this problem of, well, the budget part you just mentioned is key, because always there is a budget for accessibility, which is tiny like this. So there's always no budget for accessibility projects. So that's one of the problems. But as I was saying, I think culturally speaking, as you were mentioning, embracing and showing that accessibility is not a cost, but an investment, I think it's an important part. And now I was mentioning that we do have some success stories, because I don't, now stop me whenever I'm going too long on my answer.
No, the only thing that I do want to say is that we're going to extend this for 2 more hours, because now I feel like we should get started. So now I block your day. So we're staying here.
Perfect.
Now, please,
Cancel everything.
Yes, because I would like to add another thing, but I would like to stop again to Mateo, okay? Because when the person are how engaged projects to address accessibility, come on, Nati and Mateo. I think that the first thing that you need to think is how to have a person with disability in your team.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I was just about to mention that exactly.
Nobody will ask, okay? Because if you have someone in this project team, it doesn't matter, again, if the project is in marketing, in communication, in HR, or whatever. So try to think about how you could have one person with disability in this team. And with this, accessibility was not anymore something that you are going to put effort. It will be embedded in the way that you approach everything and the testing and all of this. But it's just a reflection. I would like to know the opinion of Nati and Mateo on this.
Yeah, sorry, Mateo, you wanted to... Yeah, no, you can go ahead, Mateo. I'll pass the torch to Natalia.
Sure. No, but I do agree absolutely with Anna. I think, well, my first answer to that question of the audience was user-centric, right? So you can never, as a developer, I'm saying
Love
it's
it.
really hard sometimes to code something that you're not going to use, right? So mostly in accessibility in our team, we do have people with with disabilities inside our team and external advisors, which test and approve every update of our softwares. So we do that the testing sequence with people with different kinds of disabilities. So we have the actual feedback and the actual approval of people who are going to be actually users of our product. So I think when you're embracing these kind of projects, you have to have someone in the team or at least as an external advisor, at least, so you can actually step by step, every single piece of the backlog being checked by someone that actually is going to be using this. And sometimes that implies lots of different challenges because disabilities are wide and very different, and you have very different variables. So maybe not only having physical actual people testing every single thing, but also using softwares or solutions like Magnify or testing solutions, but actually trying to build testing use cases, testing cases related to how someone will interact. I don't know, if their thumb cannot reach the top of the screen, but they only can reach the lower half, etc. But coming back for 1 second to the Nahuel's question about ROI, I think this is interesting. So we come from a non-regulated market. Asteroid now works in many countries. We have users in 70 something, but we have operations in Europe, in North America. We are growing worldwide, but we come from Argentina originally. And Latin America in general, not all countries, but in general, is not heavily regulated in terms of accessibility, as maybe the American market is a little bit more with ADA or the European Union now with the new EAA2. So you have lots of lots of regulations and fines and etc. So coming from a non-regulated market, Asteroid, right, which is half a for-profit, half an NGO, right, because we develop free software for the final user, but we then work or business model with organizations, right, to sustain these technologies and to help companies be more accessible with their customers. So what we started thinking when we developed these solutions is how do we make this, as I was saying, friendly to the business. So what we do is we install in the physical customer experiences of our clients, right, like fast food companies, banks, airlines, etc. We install tailor-made versions of our softwares, so people with disabilities can interact better with all the experience throughout the journey, with all the staff, right? And what we show to our customers through a dashboard, right, through a data analytics and metrics, is how many new clients they have because they are accessible, right? So we draw a return on investment model, right? So we say how many exactly with KPIs, etc. So we say how many, for example, with fast food chain, how many tickets we have to have make through our solution for you to get the money you invest, not spend, invest on us back, so that this is a profit for you. And in one of the example Nahuel was mentioning is a very big fast food chain that in the first, it hasn't even been a year yet, like 10 months, 11 months of the solution. They sold almost 13,000 menus, 13,000 menus using our software. So they didn't only repay for the year, but for 2 more years, paying for the service for 11 months. So we showed that it was an investment, right, with a positive return on it. But we have a few examples like those. But we are really working hard on this, right, showing companies that it's not a cost, it's an investment, and there's a huge positive impact. Not only maybe you could think top of mind marketing or reputation, not only that, but culture, employer branding, and of course a return investment in terms of commercially speaking. It's really interesting when you see it on
story.
that topic.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think it's kind of like, one is like super smart and startup creative on to see how it pays off. But I think it's very telling in terms of the business opportunity. That like the first thing that kind of like blew my mind when I started working in Globant like many years ago. Yes, I look 15, but I'm not 15. But I was. Thank you, Mateo, for indulging me. But the thing was, like, why is not everyone doing it? When I was like training and in Globant, like at Microsoft, we have a series of learning paths and curriculum that specialists like Nati have put together, which I'm gonna queue it up with a question for you, Nati. When I started learning, I was like thinking, this is like a no-brainer, especially if you're a direct-to-consumer brand, and even if you're not serving an external audience. Let's say that you're using your HR module for putting your vacations on. I mean, eventually you want your users to comply to your processes, right? So this was to me kind of a no-brainer. So the more I learned, the more about kind of I think it even in the most brutal capitalistic terms, and this is gonna flow organically, But I do want to queue up something, twofold. Obviously, if you want to share anything related to the discussion that we were having before in terms of how to prioritize or bring the conversations. But I do want to ask you something specifically in terms of going back to tools specifically and resources. One, if you have any recommendations, but also I know that you have been very involved in creating a particular module of a testing diploma program. And, I don't know if you want to share your experience, and for anyone that is from Argentina that can access this diploma. Nati, I don't want to kind of like steal your thunder, but you were one of the creators of a particular accessibility module in that diploma. So I don't know if you want to share a little bit of that.
Yes, sure. Well, my first experience teaching accessibility really came out as a need within my project 10 years ago, because at that time, the people that was joining to the project, they didn't know much about accessibility. So we created like an accessibility committee, let's say, and we started creating some materials, so friendly material for the people to understand how to use the tools and how to create test cases and how to define a test plan, right? And then this was a spread in Globant. So we were creating webinars, tech talks. We had some community, like different roles, but the same goal. Learning, yes, for sure. Teaching and having experts from different roles, from products, from testing, from the developer side. And that started 10 years ago. So we started doing some courses, and I have the opportunity to participate in this testing diploma for one of the universities here in Córdoba, Argentina. And it was a great experience, because the people that was participating in the diploma, they had experience with accessibility, but they were interested in learn more. So it was I think it was a good experience for me too, because I learned a lot of things from them. And I honestly, I really enjoy sharing my experience and learning what I know with the rest of the people, because I think that it is something that helps to have more people pushing to create accessibility content for everyone. So we are going to repeat this course, this diploma next year, and it's for the UBP university here.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So
Awesome.
I will be look into it, because I mean we are working a lot with education on this too, and on
absolutely.
It's
skilling.
great. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I didn't know. One thing that I was surprised, which perhaps the more you know, the more you realize of what you don't know, right? That's kind of like the challenge at times. As I was preparing for the conversation, and I learned, okay, there's a formal class that I can take in a university, so this is not like just random YouTube content, which I don't want to undermine it, but to me, as I was preparing to ask you somewhat intelligent questions, folks, I was concerned about, okay, if I pull any facts from any generative AI tool, maybe it's gonna tell me facts that are nonsense, and how can I trust the data? So I want to open it up for a couple of questions that come from the audience. So I would like to pass this section to kind of a Q&A, if you will. So right now I do have a couple of backlog questions, but from anyone in the audience, we'll start doing kind of our sort of final Q&A section now. So anyone that hasn't posted any questions, please do so. And I have a couple of questions queued up related to artificial intelligence and okay, is this benign, or what are the pitfalls in that regard? So we'll pass it now to our Q&A section. Awesome. So, well, as our last chapter of the conversation, I do have a couple of questions. I don't know if we're going to be able to answer all of the questions from the audience, so I'm going to try to bundle some of them. The first one, as it couldn't be any other way in terms of speaking of artificial intelligence, which of course it brings an opportunity. But I wanted to ask some of the folks from our experts, what do you think is the role of artificial intelligence? And I'm going to frame the question. When I was preparing to the conversation, I was concerned, okay, if I start asking a conversational AI assistant, it's going to throw me facts that maybe they're not right, or recommendations that are not adequate. So what do you think in general is the role of artificial intelligence? Is helping, it's bridging more the gap because I'm gonna build software without knowing what I'm building? What do you think? It's benign, or what do you think it's in terms of the role and the future of AI in accessibility? I don't know, Nati, if you want to start maybe.
Sure. Well, I think that the AI is a game changer in this field, and we are using it. Yeah, I think that, for example, Zoom, right? We're using Zoom right now. You can see live captions, and that's AI. You can use different tools to improve your work because you can, for example, understand the requirements, create the cases, you can automate the cases, you can do a lot of things with the AI. We are using AI all the time, right? Because it's here, it's with us.
More than we realize, right?
We are living with that. So yeah, I think it's a game changer, and we need to stay up to date with all the advancements. Is essential to push accessibility forward. And well, here in Global, we are using AI. We are having some tools like Magnify that help us to improve our work. So if we have, for example, someone new in the project and they don't know much about accessibility, they can use Magnify. They can use Magnify to understand the requirements. They don't need to go through the guidelines and read all of them. They can ask a questions and obtain an answer that will help them to understand easily. And help to create the test, to identify which of them can be automated, to understand the importance of accessibility, and reduce the cost. Of course, having AI reduce a lot of the cost because it's easier.
And something just to share with you, because when we started with all about the generative AI, because AI is all now it's about natural language and things like that. I think this is the key of the game changer, what Nata said, that is now you don't need to have a specific skill set. Okay, you can ask in natural language, and here you have. But I think that there is something that the other day one person with disability shared with me about generative AI. So in general, all companies are saying, hey, wow, this is about efficient. How am I going to be more efficient? I could do more. I could do more creative things. I could do this and this in a different way. But when you talk with a person with disability, they could do something, guys. They could do
Right.
something. So it's not about how to do better, it's that they could do it. So at the
Okay.
beginning with my mentee, I would need to do the PowerPoint presentation because was the only way. She could not read it, they are not accessible, despite that there are millions of tools to help to make it accessible. But right now, in natural language, with their voice, her voice, she could really go there and say, these are my script. Here, could you please share an accessible PowerPoint? So I think that the game changer is there. Responsible, yes. We will need to be responsible, but this is something that is part of our life and is here to change the way, not just with
Yeah,
the
and
people with disabilities. I think that we are allowing people to do things that they will never do. So the other day I could see a video that I will share later on the link about a person with ILA, the sickness of ILA, that this person lost the voice. Okay. And now we have a proof of concept. Okay. It's like just a project. And this is a bit of a spoiler that we are able to, with just 10 seconds of the voice of the person that was recorded before, you can start, this person could start doing something like writing, because he's not writing. Okay, so she's doing, this person is doing with his eyes, and the text is like voice, and the voice that they are using is the voice of the person. Okay,
That's
so it's
amazing.
incredible, and this
Yeah.
is pure AI. Okay,
We are
and
breaking the
it could be
communication barriers.
yeah,
Right.
and it could be used for, I don't know, stealing banks or doing crypto coins, and it could be a bad way of using artificial intelligence. But come on, guys, we need to learn about this. This is part of our story, and for people with disability and all of us, it's a way to change the way that we approach. I think, right, Nati? This is my sharing too. Yep.
I wanted
Oh,
to
I talked
highlight.
about the game. Sorry, my passion.
Oh no, please. I'll ask a question now to Mateo, and but I wanted to add something. Well, obviously, like Nati, thank you for mentioning Magnify, Nati. We're investing a lot this year, and in the last portion of 2024 in new features for accessibility. So if anyone wants to try the product out, or you feel we can help, even we had customer challenges that particular countries, because yes, to your point, the regulatory aspects in Europe, it's making it easier for us, to be frank, because there is a one guideline and there is kind of a common language. But we even had scenarios from customers that they had custom regulations because of their industry or because of the market that they serve. So one of the things that you can do with the tool is scan your websites for particular compliance aspects, but also you can index particular information on custom regulatory fields, so you can have your own body of knowledge, if that's your case. So if you need any help, or you feel we can be of any service, feel free to reach out. And I wanted to ask Mateo kind of a twofold question. One, Mateo, if you have an opinion on artificial intelligence, and also I know that there's a couple of cool announcements in January, so I don't know if you want to use this opportunity to share what's going on for Asteroid in the space, that I know this is going to be a busy year for you. So yeah, please share.
Absolutely.
Share what you can.
Will do. Regarding AI, I love the insights from Nati and Anna. What I think is, whenever someone, we are talking with friends or colleagues about AI, and there are people, as you know, that are more pro AI or the optimistic side, more of the pessimistic, dystopic side of the conversation, which both have their grounds, of course. But I always say, why I'm so excited about, what actually excites me the most about AI is actually accessibility, because I think people who us who work in accessibility are in love with AI mostly because of that, because you have no idea the difference this thing makes. Not only because maybe now you mentioned that, and it's a fair point, in the development process of a software, right? Where maybe you do have right now code assistants, right? That code for you or help you code, which you can see the bad side of that, which is, okay, I'm not in charge of what that is coding, but at the same time, that is a good way of I wouldn't say enforcing is the word, but actually make it a standard of accessibility standards, but actually all codes being accessible from in default, right? So I think that's a good one. You mentioned Neuralink, which I think is amazing, and what that proposes is it's amazing. And then you have Gen AI with, I don't know, pictograms, communication assistants. It's truly amazing what AI can do. And we do have some interesting announcements for this year regarding AI or maybe some different technologies. We do have great announcements regarding new partnerships with, as I mentioned before, we are working pretty hard on making a standard of our solution so that as many companies or organizations as possible worldwide use our standard of accessible communication customer experience. So we are working hard on that, and we have some cool partnerships coming in Europe and in other places in the next upcoming weeks or months. But at the same time, we do have some really, really cool announcement regarding new technology. The goal of Asteroid is making as much assistive technology as possible entirely free. So there are some things that we mentioned on this talk. There's some things that we didn't, but we are focusing on launching some new products this year that are going to make a lot of sound, because we are going to lower the entry barrier for lots of assistive technologies for different disabilities. So we're working on that pretty hard.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, thanks for sharing, and you folks can stay tuned to Asteroid channels. We'll share also a couple of links in our post, on resources that Globan, Microsoft, and Asteroid recommend, and also the experts here. What about you, Nati, Anna? Anything kind of like closing remarks? Anything you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to highlight what Mateo is doing, because, for example, the technology that was using Stephen Hawking, the ones that inspire me, I know the cost sometimes is too high for the people with ALS. So I think that what Mateo is doing for free, I think it's incredible. And just that, thank you.
Thank you, Nati.
Thank you. What about you, Anna? Any closing remarks or anything you want to share that we haven't talked about?
Accessibility is part of our life. It doesn't matter if we are talking about people with disability or not. It's about empowering people. Okay, so put in your life that if you are a partner like Globan, it's business. If you are a big company or a small company, it's business again. And in the end, you are impacting more than 1 billion of people, and it could be even you. So take your time to learn, to fail, and to be successful, because I think that this is what Mateo and Natalia are already doing, okay? And the companies are realizing that this is easier than everyone is thinking.
Awesome, thanks a lot, Anna. Well, I really, I'm honored, and I think after this hour spending together with Mateo, Anna, and Nati, I've learned a lot. This has been really an inspiring conversation. I don't know how we're gonna keep this up for the rest of the year, but challenge accepted. And we hope that with this conversation, it gave you some inspiration to bring this forward. This is kind of a good reset moment in the year, not only because of the regulation where we are. I think the cost of these technologies, again, with artificial intelligence, is lowering. So making an accessible application is no longer prohibitive. And we are, as companies, Microsoft, Globant, Magnify, Asteroid, we're all investing in democratizing these technologies and bridge the gap, so you don't have to have a trade-off between this feature and making the application accessible. So yeah, we're all very invested, and again, think it from a business lens, and think it in terms of expanding your users base, and I really like, I think Nati was saying about, don't think about a new set of user personas, but this is something as part of your unique user base and not as a separate set of requirements that you have to comply. So yeah, we hope you've enjoyed the conversation. If you want to try Magnify out, or if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're in the Azure Marketplace, and we're also an email away. And we'll also share some resources from Microsoft, Asteroid, and Globant in terms of the field. So we really appreciate you and thank you for joining.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ana,
Thank
Mate,
you.
Nati. This
See you
was
next
great.
time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.